Hey guys, welcome back. It's Kenny Headshot. It's been a very long time. I'm sorry guys, just want to apologize for the extended wait from my last video until now. Today I'm doing a video based on a build that I did for my friend. He needed a high powered gaming stroke production PC that can do 3D modeling. So some of the parts that I've decided to use for this build are the Ryzen 9 5000 series CPU. It's the 12 core 24 threads. Also the 980 Pro, which at the time was one of the fastest M.2 drives you can get on the market. Also, the motherboard is the X570 high-end, motherboard. It was about 200 and something pounds at the time. It has a very good power delivery for the CPU, so it's extremely powerful when it comes to overclocking, and also has the extra added benefit of having plenty PCIe lanes, so when it comes to having multiple graphics cards on the board or having multiple SSDs on the board, there's no sacrifice. You don't lose any bandwidth. So this motherboard is a beast. So yeah, here's the look at the CPU again. The Ryzen 9, I think it's the 5900X. The GPU is RTX 3070 Ti, which is, I would say, just about enough GPU compute. He didn't need to have anything more than that for what he's doing. So it's around 22 teraflops of GPU compute, which is going to be enough for what he's doing with the 3D modeling. So yeah, it's got a great mounting system when it comes to putting the M.2 drive into the motherboard, because it's toolless. You can just pull it in, close the latch, and then put the heat sink on top, which is a nice little feature on the board. I've always used Asus motherboards because they've been proven to be very reliable. In the past, I've used them for years now, and they've been typically very good for overclocking as well. They always seem to have good power delivery systems if you buy at a certain price point. So even on the lower end, if you spend around £100, you can get a base level power delivery system that can handle at least the Ryzen 7. With the CPU cooler, I'm just putting the RAM in at the moment, which is 36 megahertz, 32 gig of DDR4. And as you can see, it's a very easy system. Pushing RAM in is like literally putting in a cartridge into an old school gaming console. But the main thing with that is you need to make sure you put the RAM in the correct RAM slots, so that you're getting a proper dual channel maximum bandwidth when it comes to speed. With the case, we went for a Corsair 5000D, which is a mid-size case, but it's a big mid-size case, and it's got plenty of airflow, as you can see, possibilities coming in, all the vents. It doesn't come with more than one fan, so I've had to give my friend a couple fans, because you need at least 3 fans for air intake, because it's going to be an air-cooled system. We're not going to be using water cooling. So I gave him a couple of my fans that I just had laying around. They're Corsair fans as well, which is good. At least they're matching to some degree. The good thing about the case is that it's got ample options when it comes to having water cooling mounting. So you can have a triple rad in there in 2 different positions, which is front and side. as well as there's plenty of space when it comes to air cooling as well. So if he does want to upgrade to a triple rad in the future because he wants to push the CPU a bit more, maybe later on in the CPU's life cycle, he's got that option, and it will be very easy to implement because the space that's inside this case is quite ample. So you can see it's got a fan tray, which just makes it a little bit easier to install the fans. But it's more for when you're putting the radiator in, I believe, to make that easier. With the power supply, he's got a fully modular 80 plus gold power supply, 850 watts, Corsair, which they've been known to make very high quality power supplies. And yeah, it's fitting all in with the theme of having this stealth black theme, which my friend wanted. So literally you just need to add the cables that are needed for the build, and any other leftover cables you can just not have as part of the build, just put them to one side. So that's one of the advantages of having a fully modular power supply, just makes your life easier. He doesn't need more than 850 watts because it is an 80 plus gold power supply, and he won't be using dual GPUs, but although he has the option, he could do dual GPUs, but there would be a limit to how high-end those dual GPUs could be because of the overall output. But he's only going to be using one GPU, so I think 850 watts is ample power, even considering that he's got a very high-end Ryzen 9 processor. I also gifted my friend just a little cheap 500 gig traditional moving parts hard drive just for the backup of some of his work. He won't be working on that drive, but it's just good for storage, just to have some of his files backed up when he's not using them. Because he has got a 1 terabyte 980 Pro, but Windows updates, it will eat into that storage quite easily, so it's good to have a little bit of extra storage on the side just to offload some of those old work files you're not working on at the time. As you can see, the cable management system on the back of this case is very good, very straightforward. He also has some extra options to have the older style SSD drives installed on the back of the case, out of sight, out of mind. So if he does want to get some fast additional storage, he can easily add that later on at a low cost, because sometimes it's good to have multiple drives. So I think he will be getting a couple more drives later on, but at the moment this is just to get him up and running. And I think, yeah, he's really pleased with the build, because obviously I've already built it, but I'm presenting it to you now in this video. As you can see, that's a full-size ATX motherboard. It fits in the case quite comfortably. It's got a nice little cable system that goes around the motherboards to hide the cables. Really like that metal strip that just hides some of the main cables that comes through the back of the case onto the motherboard. As you can see, this is the Ryzen 9 there we go CPU, the last CPU that has the pins on the actual CPU. All future Ryzens will have the pins on the motherboard. I'm just explaining how I've mounted this in there. There's a little notch on the corner, and you need to match that notch which is on the motherboard to make sure that the CPU is installed in the correct orientation. And then you literally put the latch down. It's that simple. It's for 5900X, there we go. So yeah, 12 cores, 24 threads, very high IPC, and it's very efficient. This CPU was running very cool even when overclocked. Just peeling off some of the factory stickers that came with the motherboard just to make the motherboard pop a bit more when it comes to the aesthetics. And yeah, now I'm just installing the screws to fasten down the motherboard into the case. It's a little bit of a tedious exercise, but it's got to be done. No one wants 200 and something pound motherboard to be flying out their case. When you're installing these screws, there's normally 9 screws minus 1, because the middle one is normally just a hole which just lines up to the board just to hold the board in place. So there would be about 8 screws. So make sure you screw every single screw into the motherboard just to make sure it's nice and secure. Now I'm just mounting the CPU cooler, which is the Noctua NHD15, which is one of the best air coolers you can purchase on the market. And it can handle this Ryzen 9 even when overclocked and keep it very cool. I love the mounting system on this Noctua NHD15. It's a very straightforward, simple mounting system which doesn't take too long to install. And what I like as well, that even the mounting system, the attention to detail is also in the black theme. As well as the cooler having that option to purchase in black. So it's all fitting in with the stealth black aesthetic that my friend wanted. Yeah, so you can see the mounting system is in place. And then it's going to be as straightforward as putting your thermal paste on the CPU cooler and then just placing it straight on top and just 2 screws to screw it down, and then that's your CPU installed. Now I'm just doing a little bit of the cable management at the back of the case. As you can see, I've sped up the video so that you don't have to wait for me to do this, because it takes a little bit of extra time. So, like I said, the mounting system, the cable management system on the back of the case is quite good. I just like the way they've implemented it. This connection here, I believe, is one of the more modern connections for the front panel USB. I think it's 3.2. So it's got the higher bandwidth. So that just goes straight onto the motherboard through there, and then you've got the faster USB 3.2 on the front of the case. And then you've got the traditional motherboard power connection there that hasn't changed for so many years. And then at the top of the motherboard you've got the CPU power. Now you can see there's one power connection missing from the CPU power, but just having one of those on there is still enough, to be honest, because I did overclock this later on and it overclocked with ease. So even though I've not fed the CPU with 2 lines of power, one 8 pin connection has been proven to be sufficient. As you can see at the bottom of the motherboard here, we just got some connections for like the USB and the power reset. Bit of a tedious exercise to do that, but it is what it is. Now I'm just putting some of the covers on to hide all the cables at the bottom, because another good thing about this case is that although I have the power supply and everything, it's hidden with a shroud, which just makes the overall build look cleaner. Now I'm installing the thermal paste on the CPU cooler, and I just found that it's a lot easier just to install the thermal paste on the cooler directly on your lap, because you just got a bit more access. It's a bit more easier to do. A lot of people would install the thermal paste directly on the CPU, but the CPU is very delicate. I just don't really want to do that, and if you put the CPU into the motherboard, it's just awkward to get to. So I found just installing the thermal paste on the cooler directly is the easiest way to do it, and yeah, as you can see, it was quite straightforward. I just used a cotton bud just to clear any excess thermal paste that was around the back plate of the cooler, the base of the cooler. I'm gonna get some people in the comment section correcting me. But yeah, as you can see, I'm quite meticulous about the application of the thermal paste, so I've made sure that it's as close as what it would have been as if it was factory installed. There you go. You want to have this layer of thermal paste to be as thin as possible, because it will be working better in that way. You'll be able to extract more heat. If you put too much thermal paste on, you will not get as much efficiency when it comes to cooling. The transfer from the CPU to the cooler just wouldn't be as efficient. So yeah, now you just need to remove the fan that is in the center of the cooler, and then you'll be able to access those two screws, literally just two screws that will fasten down the cooler to the mounting system. Beautiful cooler, as you can see, fits into the theme of the build beautifully, and it does an excellent job. Noctua is one of the best companies in the world when it comes to air cooling. So yeah, literally you just got this screwdriver that comes with the CPU cooler, and you can just fasten it down quite easily just by screwing each screw little bit on a rotation, so that you're evenly spreading the pressure as you're fastening down the cooler. Now that's installed, it's that straightforward. We just need to add the two fans that come with the cooler, which are also color matched. And yeah, but it's looking quite beautiful already. I'm quite happy with this build so far, as you can see. It's taking my time to admire it. Now on the back of the case, you've got I don't know why you have this, but if anyone could tell me in the comment section why you've got this, but it just seems like a nice little door just to hide some of the cable management. But again, I don't get it, because you've got two doors. You've got one door to get to the cables and a second door to close off the back end of the case completely. I just don't see the benefits of that, but I'm sure somebody in the comment section can explain. So yeah, here we got the graphics card, the RTX 3070 Ti, around 22 teraflops. Comes with 8 gigs of VRAM. It's a powerful GPU. It's got the ray tracing, it's got all the modern features that you expect from a GPU. But the price point was very reasonable. I'll put all the prices in the description, and the list of all the parts in the description if you want to have a look and see how much this build would have cost in total. I'll also add it up in the description just so you got a grand total of what it would have cost at the time. The prices probably will be a little bit less now anyway, but we had all these parts, you know, most of them were on sale at the time anyway. It was like a summer sale of 2022. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've filmed and built this, but we're doing it now, we're showing you. So as you can see, the cooler is not perfectly fitting into the aesthetic of the theme, but it's literally gunmetal grey. It does fit in very well. It's pretty much black. And there's a reason for that. We literally did get you know, the balance right between price and aesthetic and power and everything. And as you can see, this is the final results of the build. I'm very pleased with it. Beautiful case. Okay guys, so thank you for watching this video if you've made it all the way to the end of the video, and please like and subscribe. I will be doing more videos in the future, so please bear with me. I do work full-time, but I will try my best to get the frequency a bit more frequent for you guys. Enjoy.